and welcome back to another Spore creation video. For today's creation, we're going to be making Scorbunny from Pokemon Sword and Shield, the third and final of the newly released starter Pokemon. When it came to Scorbunny, I had the same typical issue as I did in the previous two Pokemon, and that is dealing with the anatomy and the proportions. As you can see at the beginning of this, while the anatomy does actually look quite nice, it's just completely inaccurate compared to that of the actual thing. All the starters have very exaggerated chibi forms, and this has been something I've really been struggling to deal with because as I'm making the creature, I'm kind of going back and forth a lot, trying to make it normal, but it's just too exaggerated and I end up changing it a lot throughout the creation. Fortunately though, the arms and legs were much easier to form this time round, as opposed to the previous two where their arms and legs were extraordinarily tiny, very folded and, in like a very petite position, whereas with this one, with Scorbunny, it's quite a bit taller than the other two starters. A lot taller, got a much more typical humanoid form, and therefore it was significantly easier to transition that into Spore. While the limbs are a bit thicker than I would have liked, due to the fact that I can't make them as small as I used to, I'd say it's still pretty damn good, close enough. I was very happy with the technique I used to get the little, the toes and fingers, especially different coloured ones, using size Pandora's toolbox to get the right colours and such, and the little collar thing around the neck. When it came to the head was once again a bit of a struggle. Just like with the previous bunch and the proportions, like I said earlier, is also trying to get that onion-shaped head, and it's been such a tricky thing. I haven't quite figured out the right technique, or haven't quite nailed, the best way to show that kind of onion-shaped head, the very exaggerated shape. As in Spore, is a lot easier to create a sphere, or a sphere, ovals, or those kind of shapes than it is to actually create, anything different from that, especially if it kind of has like a bit of a slight triangular shape. However, it's something that I am trying to improve upon, and to try and offset some of the more bizarre shapes in the head, I decided to try and exaggerate the mouth a little bit. As with Scorbunny, it's got the little tiny nose, it's got the very typical little line going down the filter from the nose to the mouth, and the mouth is big and open. Same issue here as is with Sobble. I wasn't really able to do a big open mouth. I did try this time around, but it looked extraordinarily creepy, and I just couldn't keep it in. But like I said, I've been trying to exaggerate the mouth, the little, I'm not sure what to call it, the little pads, I guess, where the whiskers normally come out. I'm trying to exaggerate that way it has a bit of a cutesy theme to it. It's very clearly a bunny, especially with the buck teeth, but that way it just wasn't horribly flat. And that's a thing I feel like it's been a bit of an issue with this Pokemon when I finished it, was that the face did feel extraordinarily flat, but then I'm quite limited due to the fact that we've only seen Scorbunny from the frontal perspective, we've not really seen it from the sides yet, and therefore I wasn't sure how much I could exaggerate it. Not only that, but I also wasn't sure how much, if I were to exaggerate the snout and give it a snout, I wasn't sure if it would, kind of give off the wrong impression from the front or make anything look weird. In the end, it was probably a gamble I should have taken, as I did go with a flatter face in the end here, but I was really trying to translate exactly what I can see from the 2D image, and it may have had rather mixed results. From this stage on, I still have the very creepy open mouth, as I decided I wanted to try and give it a go. I mentioned beforehand in the previous two Pokemon creations that when you have just the face, we don't have any of the actual features, such as the giant ears, the fluffy cheeks, it can really skew things off, and it makes the otherwise normal features seem really abnormal. So I kept the open mouth for now, for as long as I could, while working on the other pieces. Got those great big flat bunny ears. Trying to adjust her body a lot at this point, it still feels quite lanky, but I couldn't really figure out if it was right or not because of my own personal bias. And mainly it's just been quite a bit of trial and error going back and forth throughout this creation. While I do normally focus on one thing at a time, such as currently focus on the ears, I did keep on lingering back and forth, kind of like judging the entire thing, and really trying to figure out whether or not it's my own bias, or if things were just a little bit disproportionate. When it came to the ears, they're actually a bit of a struggle considering. It's quite surprising. When having a very large flat surface in the Spore, if you want to get it to be different colours, it's actually really tricky to make those, different coloured parts actually move seamlessly throughout the creation. Originally, for the little orange band between the two shades of colours in Scorbunny's ears, the little band I originally used nail downs, to, you know, give up the sharpest colour. But they just looked really awkward and really bumpy and jagged. It just didn't look nice at all. And then what I additionally used even more nail downs to make the inner part of the ear colour, the yellow, that part there was again just very, very awkward. Something about the nail downs, as much as they used to be one of my favourite parts, nowadays they just have this really ugly shadow in the middle of it, and if you're trying to make any creation that's just very nice thick block colours such as Pokemon, the nail downs used to be my go-to choice, but nowadays they just really don't do the job properly. I think I've fully transitioned to favouring the size Pandora's Toolbox now, as they do have the nice bold clean colours and they are perfect for Pokemon. I ended up leaving features like the eyes until the very last minute, mainly because the position of the eyes in Scorbunny are just so bizarre. Scorbunny's forehead is utterly massive and it's opposite to get the whole exaggerated chibi look, of course. But it's like I mentioned earlier, it's very, very tricky to actually get these features in place because there's just so much personal bias going on. Especially when the eyes are just really spread apart, really low down, and when you initially just have the black there without all the shine and such, it looks quite demonic. I did have quite a bit of a laugh making this creation, and I do really regret not having the time to actually commentate it while making it like I have been for the previous two. But unfortunately, time is a bit of a thing nowadays. When it came to the very end of the creation, I did decide to give it the closed mouth as mentioned earlier, cleaned up a couple of the other coloured pieces. I gave it a bit more of a defined chin, which I'm very torn as to whether or not it looks alright. I think if you focus on it too much, it does look strange. But overall, I think the new chin technique kind of just helps tie everything together. And I actually went ahead and added a little bit of fur around the ears and around the cheeks. The reason why I added those little fur pieces there is because without them, it just felt really off. Even though it's an exact, you know, it's an exact replica of the actual 2D image, the fact that it just had the two big ears, the two big cheek tufts, and that was it, and it didn't have anything transitioning and such, it just looked really, really odd in Spore. So I decided to go ahead and add in the fur pieces to try and help just give it a little bit more things going on, a bit more noise. And I actually think it was just what it needed to, you know, make it a little bit less creepy and a little bit more cute. Right then, thank you very much for watching guys, and as always, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.